Hi, it's Mr. Navera, and in this video I am going to talk about the brain. The human brain, its functions, the different parts of the human brain, and also its different functions. Our brain is an incredible organ that is responsible for every single function. As a matter of fact, it is the reason why we're able to watch, listen, and most importantly, to understand and to be learned. In this our video, we are going to look at the major parts of the brain and its different functions. Our brain is divided into two halves, the right halves and the left halves. Both these halves are connected to each other by the bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. The left hemisphere controls all of the muscle on the right side of our body. However, the right hemisphere controls the left side of our body. Firstly, we have the cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest component of our brain. The cerebrum is actually divided into four parts, or it is divided into four lobes: the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobes. And also, we have also the cerebellum and the brain stem. Each of them are responsible for specific functions. So let us take first the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the largest part of our brain structure. That is why it is called as the executive portion of our brain. Our frontal lobe is responsible for our executive function, such as for problem solving, for planning, for verbal communication, and for our muscle movement. So if our frontal lobe is weak, our abilities to do all of this will become severely diminished. So as we move back towards the back of our brain, we will see the parietal lobe. So what's the function of that? It is basically senses pain and also touch. It also helps us in visual functions such as reading and understanding statements. So in other words, in parietal lobe, it is about us dealing with and reacting to our environment. So if there's any damage to our parietal lobe, it will lead us to have a lack of coordination. So our next lobe is the temporal lobe. This temporal lobe is going to be important in understanding languages, in vision, and in hearing. So all of those that we see and hear in our surroundings are stored in this lobe. Moreover, it is also responsible for face recognition, for our emotional reactions, and for our smell. So our fourth lobe is the occipital lobe. This lobe is the primary visual area of our brain. So, in other words, it is responsible for our vision, help us in recognition of colors and movements. So any damage to our occipital lobe, there is a chances for us to have an hallucinations. So let us move forward to the second part of our brain, which is the cerebellum. This cerebellum is divided into two halves, and it is called as a small brain. The main function of this cerebellum is about motor control, like balance, coordination, posture, and timing. So our cerebellum is the reason that we can maintain our structure and posture. Any damage in our cerebellum will lead us to loss of fine coordination, inability for us to walk, and dizziness. And lastly, we have the brainstem. The brainstem controls the flow of messages between our brain and the rest of our body. The brainstem has many basic functions, including breathing, sleeping, and eating. If there is any damage to our brainstem, it is going to be a catastrophic. So those are the functions of our brain. Its different parts and its different functions. So that's all for today, and I hope that was helpful.